Hello, my name is Robert Marra, and I'm here at the Istituto di Cultura Italiana, or the Italian Cultural Institute, at my opening, June 7th, 2023. So one of the questions I've been asked is why the string or the line, and in particular the infinite line. What I often explain is that I started off exploring the aesthetics and the properties of and the possibilities of the line itself, and then slowly it became a metaphor to symbolize internal energy that basically gradually unfolds and leads to some kind of creative act or creative process. And then realizing that a lot of what we do is a creative process. It's a problem-solving kind of life, so to speak. What I decided to focus on was, or think about, was the infinite line. And how would I best be able to portray that? What would it look like? And I came up with a technique basically of a line that folds and unfolds, and it's in the process of unfolding in a never-ending way. And I found a technique to represent that, ultimately the infinite line is, in my work, has come to represent not only my subjective kind of experiences, but also our collective experiences as human beings from the beginning till now, and everything that we've concocted in that time, given the fact that it's all been part of that creative process, from rubbing sticks to creating computers and the internet and everything else in between. Ironically, this one is called online. You have this kind of unfolding mass that seems to be connecting and creating boils or bumps on the canvas surface. I decided to put in a pacifier, because sometimes the internet can be very pacifying and can become actually perpetually pacifying for some people. Here's a painting or painting sculpture that I created during COVID. There's a few of them here actually. This one's called Away from the Shoreline. The ones that I created during COVID have a little bit of they all have a biomorphic kind of composition to them. These ones here, someone was mentioning that they kind of almost reflect the virus itself. The one next to it is also COVID painted, inspired by the idea of heredity and descendancy and inheritance. This is another one I created, the red one that I created during the period of COVID. So there's a kind of a push and pull to these ones. This one here, the idea, or this was kind of like a response to not so much AIDS, but how people with AIDS were treated. And I'm not sure why, after 40 years, I had quite a few good friendships in Italy with people that had acquired AIDS. And at that time, there was a kind of a COVID response to it. People didn't know what to make of it. There was a kind of a persecution and isolation of individuals that got sick, almost like they weren't even, getting the type of treatment that might have, or the interest in treatment that might have helped them. And I remember having a lot of feelings about that. And I don't know, 40 years later, I need to kind of, represent that somehow. And of course, it's a take on Saint Sebastian. Divided lines. If you zoom in, you can see, that there's little people in there. within the frames, in each compartment, so to speak. The line is not always coherent, but eventually I think it finds coherence. You know, sometimes it starts off divided, and I think, you know, in order to move forward, we generally have to find common ground, you know, a kind of a compromise. Skyline. You know, I work in a hospital as a psychotherapist, so, and I worked in the ER to some degree at the beginning of COVID, helping out down there with people that were coming in with, you know, mental health related issues because of it. And I got to see how, you know, the hard work that the nurses and doctors were doing there was incredible. And I call this one the front lines. And sometimes, you know, the mask in the air protect the body, but what goes on behind the mask, we don't know what kind of lines, what kind of you know, themes or narratives unfold there. Nail the line. About language and line, of course. Here, the dedication to my parents was inspired by their arrival in Canada in the early 1950s. I call it Line Up at Pier 21, and you can imagine the degree of creative energy and the kind of, you know, how the internal landscape was moving for these people that were coming off the boats at that time, getting off the dock and, you know, not really knowing what they were going to find, but hoping for all the world to unfold before them. The images you see unfolding on the screen are my early works. When, you know, years ago I read something by Paul Klee that basically, in regards to between tone, color, and line was the most limited. And it kind of inspired me to, and it's probably contextualized in some way, which for me it wasn't the point. It just inspired me to investigate the line and its energies, and, you know, as I was saying, its properties and possibilities a little more. And these colored images in the screen are the outcome of that. This was a little bit more, I would just say, aesthetic and you know, visual, which obviously eventually evolved to be more emotional. Yeah, and I guess what I can say about my work is, it walks the line between painting and sculpture, and I found that the materiality of the work actually, for me, is, you know, works the best to reflect or to maybe represent emotions. You know, the textures and you know, the gashes, the cuts. I became familiar with the material when I studied ceramic arts in Italy, and then through home renovations, where a lot of the glues, the cements, the plasters, you know, and so forth, you know, gave me the same kind of tactile experience. And I found it, and I eventually found myself incorporating it into the art as a whole. You know, so yeah, the material aspect of it for me is a fantastic kind of way to capture, you know, the viscerality of the emotional experience.